Mission Bay is one of those markets that just does different things all the time, and it's one of those few that it's really hard to predict or project what could happen next. And the reason I say that, from listing a handful of condos in Mission Bay this year, from one bedrooms to higher price point two bedrooms, and our team having such a wealth of knowledge in these specific condominium buildings, it's always interesting to see what sells and what doesn't sell. And for basically the duration of the pandemic, if a unit didn't have patio space, it was pretty hard to sell, because I think just the nature of the buyers that are buying in Mission Bay, many of which are UCSF related, so like they're very health conscious. They You typically see a more gentrified, mask wearing population in Mission Bay than you do in different parts of the city. And I think with that ties in that desire to have private patio space, right? So units without, really difficult to sell. Units with a patio, seemingly relatively easy to sell, all the way up to units that have recently been purchased, that have beautiful north facing views of the city, and are looking sort of over the channel towards the city. Buyers are so eager for that particular product that they're literally willing to blow up agents that have just sold similar units to our buyers, to their buyers, to see if they would be willing to sell, even if they only bought it a few months ago, which is insane from a market where the average days is like, I don't know, it's pushing 50. It's basically been pushing 50 to 60 all year, like the amount of days it would take to sell a condominium. But all that being said, November was actually more active than October and September and August. There was more listings that accepted offers in November this year. And from a feel sense, like there was more people requesting tours in Mission Bay last month than there has been basically since May, June. So come with me. I'm going to screen share. I'm going to dive you into the data so you can see what I'm seeing, and I'll sort of talk my way through what I'm seeing in this data. What I want to show you just is a few different sort of trend lines here in Mission Bay. So this is obviously average sales, average monthly sales price in Mission Bay over the past year, each month. So as you can see, like it's pretty sporadic. It's very up and down. In August, you can get 1127, then you can get 1630. Obviously, the average neighborhood value has not jumped by 500K. It's just a few smaller units sold versus a few bigger units sold. And because the batch of the supply is usually pretty low, as in a handful of units selling, that's why I sort of see some of these jumpy lines. But if I even this out sort of over rolling 3-month averages, which is usually a bit more aligned to how that condominium market is doing, as you can see, this Mission Bay trend line's been pretty steadily cruising up all of 2021. There was a fat dip in 2020, obviously. March, it was at 1.5, which is where it had kind of been hanging out for the last few years. Even October, it peaked at 2 million. But like, as you can see, it's been steadily sitting up here in between 1.6 and 1.8. Then it really kind of dropped as soon as the pandemic hit. And that's slowly been building its way back up again. It's getting close to 1.5, which is really good for the sort of pre-established neighborhood values. I think things of interest, obviously days on market. This is a really good indicator of how active a market is, how quickly properties move, or how long they sit on the market for. We had a huge peak, like right around this time last year. Average days on market was 64, which is insanely high for a neighborhood as desirable as Mission Bay. This, I think, is the most telling indicator of the strength of the Mission Bay market right now. Average days on market later in the year is dropping. There's obviously less listings, but they're selling quicker. And it's looking more like it did in 2019, which is a regular market, right? Like 14 to 20 days on market on average, 27 for some of these higher months. Now that we're sort of back in that range again, this is showing the Mission Bay market is back to where it was like before the pandemic. Now we're during/post, but it's still sort of hit or miss dependent on the property type and what the features of the property have. So without a patio space, I would assume, this is a big assumption, but I'd assume that these numbers would be closer to that 40 to 50 range.
And then obviously the more desirable units with patios selling significantly faster.
General consensus, if you have a property that you need to sell, I would wait until spring 2022, like maybe late February, early March. You'll probably start to see that buyer pool pick up again. And you'll see a lot of that Mission Rock construction hopefully starting to take shape. So people that are shopping at One Mission Bay or shopping at Madrone or Radiance that have direct sight line to this project, at least seeing some of that construction and seeing some of those buildings take form, it'll offset buyers' fears that their sight lines or their views from the units are going to be impeded, which makes it easier to sell a place if a buyer can see the height of the building that's going to be there, as opposed to this make-believe this building's going to be 9,000 stories tall and it's going to block my view. So general consensus, if you're selling, hang off till spring. If you're buying, there's definitely opportunity. Any listing that's on the market in December, January, you kind of know that the sellers need to sell. Otherwise, they would have waited until next March to list. So there's definitely opportunity out there. Ask any and all questions. I'm here to answer them.